this is about the four type of leaders, the type of leaders which are very rare in the industry to find. And these leaders are very, very successful. They never give suggestions to the people. They never share their experiences. They never share
Yeah,
their opinions. They always ask you choose what is right for you, and you
absolutely.
come with the options. Then they said that these are the two options. These are. Do you have any other option? And once they choose the option, they will say, okay, wonderful, this is the option which you are choosing, do it, I am sure you will be successful. When this person do it with their 100%, the involvement, and then he becomes successful, you will see the person will really fly like anything. I like the word which you use, the vulnerability. The
Yeah.
top leaders, they always talk about success stories. I was
Mm.
so successful in this, I was so successful. But do you really share your failure stories? Do you
Yeah.
really share that I was attending an interview and I got failure because I did not got selected because of this and this reason? So that's really important, that how vulnerable you are and you're talking to the people that I am just like you. And that's possibly, where people can feel that my manager, my boss, my leader is just like me. He's so approachable to me. Today we have an amazing guest on Let's Talk Show, Ridhima Wali. She has been wonderful in terms of building the capabilities to various organizations and various industries. Hi Ridhima, thank you so much for joining here. How are you doing?
Hi, Pankaj. I'm doing great and thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here. There are two types of no's. One you know get when the idea is not that good. ये पहले देखा हुआ है यार इसमें नहीं करना है हमको. So you ask the client or ask people, okay, what is it that you don't like? And in this entire journey, you have to keep your ego under your soul, under the soul, the feet wala soul. You cannot have an ego driven approach here because if 10 people are telling you the same thing, that means you really need to improve. And the second no is you did your best and maybe it's not relevant to the client. Maybe the client feel your equity will not set with that person, the vibe will not work, they've done this before. So I don't feel bad when I have done my best and someone is saying no, because I know the product is good. Today or tomorrow it's going to find its audience. But when it's a no because the products or offerings lack something, that for me makes me uncomfortable and pushes me to do more. And as serene as I may look like right now, that Pankaj rejection comes along the way, handling them is never easy. But I often ask myself, okay, you got rejected because we lost out a lot of mandates when we were 8 months old as a company because we don't feel we are not convinced about you. You're too young to be doing this. आई जस्ट फेल्ट ओके यार एक दिन ना इस पे आप बिता लो, आपको बियर पीनी है बियर पी लो, आपको टीवी देखना है रोना है रो लो, बट एक दिन के बाद यू कांट मिस आउट ऑन योर प्रोडक्टिविटी फॉर दिस नो. And a lot of those no's for me today have become the anecdotes which I'm sharing with you. And I use them legit as my content. And you need to have no's in your life, rejections in your life. Otherwise, life will be too predictable. And it is the bedrock of rejections that creates the foundation for innovation. आप इनोवेट तब भी करते हो ना जब आपको कुछ प्रॉब्लम लग रही है, कुछ विकेट प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, तो वो रिजेक्शन से ही आता है. सो आई ऑफन टेल रिजेक्शंस आर द रेड कार्पेट फॉर सक्सेस एंड आई रियली बिलीव इन इट. इट्स रियली डिस्पैरेजिंग जब वो होता है, बट उसके बाद आप देखो मजा आता है रिजेक्शन में, बहुत मजा आता है.
Lovely. I like this. Rejection is a red carpet for success.
या या
Very nice. So I always used to tell that failure is the highway to success.
वही चीज है ये भी.
Absolutely. Super. Very nice. One thing I really liked, Ridhima, what you shared, that keep on innovating, keep on changing.
या
For even for the people, those who are the in-house trainers, in-house facilitators, in-house HRs,
एब्सोल्युटली.
if you
जी.
are going to conduct any session, and if you're starting with the same story what you repeated last time and the
जी.
same example in the same language, you remember the example of Three Idiots, when they says Viru Sehastra used to come, and he was narrating the same thing, and then another boy who was a, I think, the tea seller or something, he was working over there, he was keep on repeating the same word and the terminologies over there.
Yes.
Yeah, so
You
people
become too
should not.
predictable.
Yeah, it's too predictable, and you don't have anything to offer. So that's why, the most important thing here, that how much you do you read, how many seminars you attend, how many people you talk, how many,
Yeah.
the learning sessions you go. So this is the most important thing for any facilitator or a trainer,
Yeah.
to keep innovating and keep learning. Very nice. Ridhima, now coming to the another important thing, what is changing in the leadership as per your experience of last 10 years? What it was and what it is today?
So, for me, considering I started my career officially in 2013 and before that 2011 when I was interning in different organizations as a part of my MBA. And what I've seen is there was a kind of leadership which was pre-COVID, and there's a kind of leadership which is post-COVID. But the attributes of good leadership still remain the same, Pankaj. They have evolved, the magnitude has increased or decreased, but the attributes have remained the same. Pre-COVID, we took familiarity of being in the same space for granted. People used to travel, people used to meet. If somebody was in Poland, if somebody was in India, they used to at least comes once in a quarter, once in 6 months. So we took the entire gift of meeting people for granted. We used to spend a lot of times in meetings which were unproductive. I think post COVID, the leaders that I witnessed, they have genuine appreciation for the fact that teams are coming into offices. So the appreciation for team, Pankaj, I think has gone many folds, and especially for organizations that had to engage in a lot of cost cutting in the pre-COVID. Let's say your retail, your malls, because I work with a lot of mall owners also. So when they see their people, there's a genuine appreciation. So I think the regard for talent has improved in the post-COVID world, Pankaj. So that's number one. Number two, I'm seeing emerge a lot of emergence of tech companies. Let's say I said, right, I work with data center, I work with a ed tech, I worked with a ed tech called Upgrad. I'm working with med tech companies like Radiometer, Carestream. So most of their vertical heads and CEOs who are leading different businesses, they are young. They are early 40s, late 30s, and even if they are in late 40s, I think they have an appreciation for the fact that that carrot and stick approach, कि अगर वो अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है उसको ज्यादा पैसे दे दो, जो नहीं अच्छा परफॉर्म कर रहा है उसको डेवलपमेंट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू में रख लो. I think that shift is also happening. Leaders, when I'm conversing with them actively, they're often telling me, Ridhima, how do we engage with talent, whether they're performers or non-performers? Because I want to bring my non-performers to performing level or at least retain their current performance. I don't want to fire them because finding talent is a problem. So I think leadership is waking up to the fact that they cannot dictate the talent market through money. And you also have to appreciate the aspect that, and this is, I think, some organizations are waking up to it, some part of it are not waking up to it. Your 55% of workforce by 2025 in India is going to be Gen Zs and early millennials. तो जिनको हम बेटा और बच्चे आज बोल रहे हैं, वो कल बहुत important positions occupy करने वाले हैं. They could be your customers, they could be your bosses because they know coding very well. They could be founders. So how do you engage with them? You can't engage with them, like I said, through money or by intimidating them. You need to engage with them by doing two things. One is by inspiring them that you're doing meaningful and purposeful work. And B is by showing them vulnerability, that I need you more than you need me. And I am also open to make some mistakes. So why don't we co-create a journey together? So वो जो superiority paradigm है ना पंकज, वो leaders, I think they're waking up to this fact, but they've not totally woken up. So अगर आप traditional setup में जाओगे, जैसे में pharma companies जैसे हमने बात की, especially Indian pharma companies की मैं बात करूंगी, not MNCs, उनको अभी भी वो जी हुजूरी चाहिए है, as crude as it may sound. But I think 3 years down the line, it will also change because जो आपकी MR है, जो आपकी product managers हैं, वो एक 22 साल का बच्चा ही है जो ये सोच रहा है कि ये कंपनी मुझे क्या देगी, मैं उसको क्या दूंगा, वो secondary है. So slowly this shift is happening. So as Stephen Covey has said in his book Trust and Inspire, from the typical command and control, we are moving to inspiring. And from a typical perform or perish, we are moving to engagement. So engaging talent has become a very important norm. The interesting fact is leaders who have been really able to bring impact on scale, scope, complexity. Like I have interacted with Mr. Radhakrishnan, who leads the BPO business at Infosys. If I look at him pre-COVID and post-COVID, I remember when in my previous organization, COSM, when we had got a mandate, he was very clear that the team has performed very well. I don't want to give any monetary benefit or take them outside for like a foreign offsite because they earn well, they're at good designation, they travel. I want to do something to inspire them. So, can we have an authentic leadership kind of a workshop? So, that was his gift to his team for performing well. So, I think the leaders who are genuinely good leaders, their behaviors have remained the same pre or post COVID. So, they know when to flex to engage the talent. But the biggest change and the biggest shift for me would be an appreciation for talent. I'm seeing that happen now. A lot of conversations are happening. How do we engage them? How do we inspire them? Can we do something about them? Some of them are at remote working. What we can do so that they feel the feeling of being belonged to. So, yeah, and I think big MNCs are waking up to the fact that the rigid rules, the 9 to 5 working, or for the fact that you have to wear a certain clothes to be a part of this company, I think they are also loosening up all those rules and regulations. So I think by and large, the appreciation for talent as a big pivot is a shift I'm seeing, Pankaj.
Wonderful. So the appreciation of for talent, engagement activity in the from HR side, the small. This is the for certain points which I read from the book called The Millennial. The
Yes.
millennial says that to understand that the traits and the behaviors of the people, you need to really modify and bring the change in. They need instant gratification. They need
Mm.
instant promotion. They need instant, what not everything. So how flexible the organization. When I mean the leaders. How flexible you are in terms of bringing all those changes and really implementing the way it is. I like the word which you use, the vulnerability. The
Yeah.
top leaders, they always talk about success stories. I was
Mm.
so successful in this, I was so successful. But do you really share your failure stories? Do you
Yeah.
really share that I was attending an interview and I got failure because I did not got selected because of this and this reason?
Mm.
So that's really important, that how vulnerable you are and you're talking to the people that I am just like you. And that's possibly, where people can feel that my manager, my boss, my leader is just like me. He's so approachable to me.
Yes, and it reminds me of an interesting thing. I was recently interviewing Mr. Kirti Ganurkar, founder and not founder, CEO at Sun Pharma. And he was telling me this entire story of how Dilip Sangvi sir, the founder of Sun Pharma, had actually interviewed him in Baroda. And how that entire interview was a technical interview. And Dilip sir had actually asked him a lot of mode of actions of some medicines and stuff like that. And today, from a EA role, he's become to a CEO. And one of the things he said about Dilip Sangvi sir is the constant empowerment. The constant empowerment which Mr. Sangvi gave to Mr. Ganorkar. Just imagine being a EA to a CEO. Just imagine the kind of bets Mr. Sangvi had to take on Mr. Ganorkar to lead India's largest pharma and world's fourth largest pharma. And when you sit with them, because I've interacted, I have observed the leaps up closely, I've interacted, Kirti sir, the humility. So I think one thing that leadership needs to embrace is sheer humility. And this understanding that the power is not with you, the power is with the team. Whenever Dilip sir is acknowledging their sales field force as a part of their R&R, which happens in foreign countries, Pankaj, and this is so inspiring. I've heard him in Dubai, I've heard him in Bangkok multiple times, and you can figure out if somebody is saying for the sake of saying or they genuinely mean it.
Hmm.
This gentleman, whose net worth is more than $7 billion, runs a company which is at a profit every year, making revenue of $5.1 billion, is telling that, you know what, I want to thank each and every one of you for performing so well that you are giving me an opportunity to come to these countries. So I'm standing on this stage because of you guys. And he's not a very charismatic speaker that he's speaking on the top of his voice and inspiring, but you can figure out the way people are reading into his cues and the room is breaking into a thunderous round of applause, he means it. He's
Hmm.
grateful for his team. So I often tell people and I remind myself, at times क्या होता है ना, आपके लोगों को कभी ना कभी कुछ तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम आएगी, मे बी सैलरी रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम है, काम रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम है, रिवॉर्ड रिलेटेड प्रॉब्लम है, कुछ भी प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. उस टाइम पे दे मे टॉक टू यू इन अ सर्टेन वे which you may find offensive. But I often remind people that you hired these people because you saw some good in it. So why don't you listen to it in its entirety and then take a call? And when I hear about Dilip sir, one thing that everyone has said is that he's never the one who will fire someone because of performance issue. He's someone who often says, "What is it that we can do with this person better? Let's
Hmm.
retain this person because we are the one who hired." And that way, if you talk to, and you must be aware of this, Pankaj, that majority of the people there, they're stuck by Sun Pharma. And I'm not only talking about the people who joined him in 1983, I'm talking about the young people also. And unanimously, because I've interacted with so many people there, they have
Hmm.
said, we are here because of Dilip Bhai. And we are here because the same culture gets trickled down from Kirti Ganurkar. So,
Hmm.
leadership at the top, we often say that culture eats strategy for breakfast. It's because of the same reason. They are able to win in the market because they have such strong talent. And we often talk about setting vision, setting mission. And Kirti sir said that one thing I learned from Dilip Bhai is to not set any mission and vision. Because we started with 10,000 rupees capital, we are at 45,000 crores today. We would have not thought that we would have become 45,000. So the
Hmm.
only thing we focus on is, can we become better than yesterday? And as a consultant who does a lot of strategy offsite to create mission, vision, values for organizations, it came as a complete surprise for me. Being better than yesterday. With me too, Pankaj, because my team is very young. At times, you need to give them this project because it's going to help them in their development. But they'll be like, no, why am I doing it? How is it helping? This is not helping. The usual things. And at that point, and this conversation was happening 3 to 4 days back only, जहाँ मेरे टीम मेंबर ने बोला, मैम मैं नहीं फैसिलिटेशन करूंगा, मैंने नहीं पहले किया, मुझे नहीं पता है, मैं फेल हो गया तो क्या होगा. तो मैंने कहा फेल ही होगा यार, कौन सा तेरा प्रमोशन इस पे होने वाला है, हो जा फेल. कौन सा हमारा क्लाइंट, मतलब करोड़ों करोड़ों का नुकसान हो जाएगा, कोई बात नहीं. बट आई रियली, एंड मैं अभी बहुत इक्वानिमिटी के साथ आपको बोल रही हूँ, अप्रिसिएशन. एक पॉइंट पे मेरी भी आवाज ऊंची हुई थी, बट after that Awaz Ucha moment, I realized, let me just drink a glass of water and just hear him out. I heard him. I knew he was not convinced, but I said, यार कर ले. अगर होगा तो सही होगा, नहीं होगा तो भी कुछ लर्निंग आ जाएगी. कर ले, तेरे पे कोई प्रेशर नहीं है. I literally had to. And like I said, it's very easy for me to tell you all of this, but at that point, even my voice got raised. And then I asked him, कैसा था एक्सपीरियंस यार? कहता बड़ा मजा आया, मैंने ये एग्जाम्पल दिया, मैंने वो एग्जाम्पल दिया. So the concept of baptism by fire, till the time you're not put in those situations, you're not going to learn. I said, देख ले भाई, बोला था तेको. So, but at that point ना, I had this thing. I could have made a choice. देखा, मैंने तेको बोला था, मेरा experience है. I said, अच्छा हुआ, चलो यार, nice, work for you. Because as Gen Z, if you engage with them, देखा मैंने बोला था मैं सही थी, they're not going to approach you. So ये constant journey है पंकज, और बहुत ही सुंदर journey है, because no day is same.
Great. How beautiful it is, the conversation with you, Ridhima. And
Thank you so much.
you're provoking so many thoughts in my mind. I always tell this is about the four type of leaders, the type of leaders which are very rare in the industry to find. And these leaders are very, very successful. They never give suggestions to the people. They never share their experiences. They never share
Yeah,
their opinions. They always ask, you choose what is right for you, and you
absolutely.
come with the options. Then they said that these are the two options. These are do you have any other option? And once they choose the option, they will say, okay, wonderful, this is the option which you are choosing, do it, I am sure you will be successful. When does this person do it with their 100%, the involvement, and then he becomes successful, you will see the person will really fly like anything next time. You are building the
Absolutely.
confidence of a people, you are building, the ownership, you are giving, them the reward, award, everything, whatnot. So this is what, and the rare these leaders are very rare in the industry. Always you will find leader is always available with the bag of the all the experiences. If this customer is saying this, do this, I applied this. If he is
Yeah.
saying no, okay, I also face the same. So this is really important. Fine, Ridhima, really very interesting to talking to you. Share some of the resources for all our trainers, facilitators, or the
Hmm.
coaches.
Hmm. In terms of how they can build their training acumen, is
Yeah,
that the
yeah,
question, Pankaj?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I think I put it on blur, but let me just put my this thing because I didn't want a distraction. But
Library.
yeah, the first and the most natural form of learning is books. Now, a lot of people ask me how many books you have read. I think 30% of the books. और वो भी कवर टू कवर नहीं पढ़ी है, 25% पढ़ी है, कोई पेज पढ़ा है, कई कई बार खाली इंडेक्स पेज पढ़ के मेरे को समझ आ गया क्या टॉपिक कहाँ पे लिया जा सकता है. But every time I go to the airport, because that's where I mostly chill during traveling, I have this inordinate need to go scroll through books and buy something. Now, whether I read or not is separate thing. Okay? But this focus, this obsession that I need to have books is I don't know. And मेरे को ये भी कम पड़ रही है यहाँ पे भी पूरी किताबें फैली हुई है मैं आपको दिखा नहीं सकती and my husband often tells हम रखेंगे कहाँ so we are building another almirah for it. क्यों मैं ये बोल रही हूँ there are phases in your life like the last 1 year has been so challenging for me personally and professionally मुझे किताब ज्यादा पढ़ने का टाइम नहीं मिला बट कभी कभी ना वो
Hmm.
15 मिनट का वक्त मिल जाता है जहां आप शांति से पढ़ सकते हो या आप कैब में जा रहे हो पढ़ सकते हो एंड getting that one insight from that book can really change your life. It really can if you apply it. I often tell people don't amass knowledge without applying it क्योंकि वो आप भूल जाओगे आप वो भूलने वाले हो. अभी रिसेंटली मैंने ना वो बुक पढ़ी थी डेल कार्नेगी जी की हाउ टू वरी लेस एंड स्टॉप वरिंग स्टार्ट लिविंग और उसमें कोई
Hmm.
पेज में ना एक एग्जांपल दिया था दैट व्हाई रेस्टिंग इज इम्पोर्टेंट. And they said in 1920s in a manufacturing setup where the labor used to happen manually. So this Dale Carnegie has written that in a span of 60 minutes, the person worked only for 24 minutes because he had to churn the wheel to get some output from the product. And they said he churned it some 5 times and after 5 minutes, he used to take 3 to 4 minutes of break, which means he was doing nothing. And in that book,
Hmm.
it's written that why resting can improve your efficiency. Now, I found that very interesting because whenever I sit and relax, I have this feeling, abhi ye bhi karna, abhi wo bhi karna. I'm still working on it. So, and I realized the paradigm that resting is important for efficiency. So ये मेरे को 10 मिनट लगा, but I still remember it because ये आप अपनी जिंदगी में उतार सकते हो as a concept. And another paradigm I read in one of the book was, which was that out of the five senses that you have got, the best way to avoid distraction is to not engage a lot of things with your eyes because for making these senses to work, you have 11 million sensors in your body for the way you talk, for the touch, smell. But out of those 11 million sensors, some 10 million are attributed for your eye because visualizing, making meaning, creating a mental picture is a very complex function. So that's when I realized, हाँ यार इसीलिए हम कहते हैं मोबाइल नहीं देखो सुबह सुबह डिस्ट्रैक्शन मत करो होती है घबराहट होती है. So just keep books. Now, if you are someone who is into Kindle, use Kindle, no problem. If you're someone like I am a hardcover person, read books and you have no obligation to complete the book. Not at all. आपको थोड़ी ना कोई academician बनना है, कुछ करना है. If you want to make notes, make feverish notes. I have kept a separate notebook, but when I don't have a notebook, I make my notes on books because till the time you don't write, your neural pathways are not meeting, and till it's going to otherwise get dissipated. जैसे nail polish remover का remover होता है ना उसको खुला छोड़ो तो पूरा remover dissipate हो जाएगा. The same thing will happen to your learning if you're not writing it. So I tell people read less, write more, make meaning. And the third thing is share that insight or learning. Just say today I share two insights with you. It's just going to make sure that it's now in my neural pathway somewhere. I see people almost having this ego like tussle. Okay, I've read 10 books in a week because that is glorified on Instagram. Yes, Bill Gates reads about 50 books a month, but because he's Bill Gates. Yes, you should read 100 books a year. but I don't have that time. So for me, the actionable insights matter much more than just reading for the sake of reading and applying it through sharing, writing an article, completely your choice. But make sure you read and apply so that it's there in your muscle memory. So that's number one. Number two is certifications, and take certifications of your choice. I see this chronic needs in trainers, and it's my view, nothing personal. Like we say, no, I'm ICF certified with so many hours of practical training, or I am I'm facilitator certified, I'm design thinking certified. See, these things are important, no denying. But your profession maybe doesn't require you to be a design thinker as much as it requires you to be a strategic thinker. So choose your certification in a very judicious format. Don't take certifications because you want to look cool or sound cool or because it's in the market. Because if you're design thinking certified, but you're not in the product or service industry, which requires you to advise people on design thinking, where are you going to apply it? So at the end of the day, you can look cool. See, I'm design thinking certified. है ना? तो क्या फायदा हुआ उसका करके? And honestly, I've been also done that. In 2019, when I took this design thinking certification, it was really to look cool. Only to realize by 2021, यार मैंने apply क्या किया? And then in 2022, I created a project. But being a consultant, I have that freedom. So, and do one new certification every 6 months. Now, why certification? For me, that staggered learning 3-4 हफ्ते की नहीं वर्कआउट करती है. मेरे को 3 दिन में सिखाओ and then leave it up to me. Choose, are you a staggered learner kind of a person, or you are at once? But doing one certification every 6 months will first give you access to a lot of other learners who are also influencers in their own right. You get to network with them, and you learn a lot by observing them through the way they participate, their life journey, interacting with them. And even if through that certification you may learn just one new thing, take that thing and apply it in an unbridled format. So for me in design thinking, those three circle, desirability, feasibility, and viability. For me, that's the core of design thinking, and the fact that you need to empathize with the end users. So you ask me 4 steps, I may not remember, but I know this thing. So for me, applicability is a very important aspect. And reading, going through one TED talk on daily basis. I've stopped doing this, but there was a time in 2019-20, there's not a single TED talk which I've not seen. Why? Because TED talk has good speakers, they have some mind-numbingly boring speakers also. But in that entire journey of watching, when I say boring, because they're talking some really abstract topic, you realize how to put your point in 18 minutes of time span. How do you present? How do you project your thoughts in highly crystallized manner? How to engage with audience? And somewhere down the line, Pankaj, at the end of the day, what happens is your mind will project to the outside world through your spoken words, through your written words, what you feed into the mind. So what is feeding into the mind is very important. So for me, it is books, it is TED Talks, it is certifications, and most importantly, it's meeting people.
Yeah.
I think I learned tremendously through meeting people, because after a certain point in your life journey and career journey, when your priorities change, I can't read as vociferously as I used to read 2 years back because of lack of time. So, but when I'm meeting people, I often ask them what your life journey has been, what's your greatest life lesson, what's your most unfulfilled agenda. So keep 4 to 5 questions handy with you so that you can pick the brain of the other person and ask questions and learn from it. So for me, people have become the new books, if you ask me, Pankaj, today.
Yeah.
So I remember my ex-boss, Mr. Himanshu Saxena, used to often quote this thing that two things can change the course of your life: the books you read and the people who you meet. And I irrevocably believe in this quote because it has really changed my life too.
Wonderful. Ridhima, thanks for sharing all this. And any last message you would like to communicate to the HR leaders, L&D leaders, or maybe the business leaders?
I think to the business leaders, I would recommend that. And it's interesting. I was having this conversation with Mr. Sanjeev Mehta, the ex-chairman of HUL, and he told me that leaders need to change with changing times. And I said, so, but did you do that? And he said, yes, throughout the HUL journey, the only thing that kept me relevant is the speed at which I kept on changing myself. And when you have to undergo change, and I'm not saying this in a very preachy manner, change management kind of a thing, that change is the only constant. When I say change, is now the speed of change is going to be 200 times more than what we have witnessed in the past decade. The tech is changing, the behavior are changing, the engagement is changing. So having the humility to change and having the agility to unlearn is going to become very important. They say the kind of data that had got generated between the advent of the first 19th century to 2000, the amount of data that had got curated in the last, I think, 100 years, that data is getting generated every 2 days. So that's the leap that we're talking about. So I think the humility to change is an important paradigm for leaders. The other bit would be embracing the fact that you will need talent and people to build success and business story, which means for HR perspective, आपको 9 से 5 वाला जो पैराडाइम है वो अब नहीं relevant है. So what is the flexibility? After few years, we are going to see that there's going to be gig economy, which means, and this is already happening in Google. So they mandatorily, from the last decade, they've been hiring people who are doing more than one thing. And maybe they are not making money through the other thing, but they're getting people who are like Instagram influencers of photography. They're getting belly dancers. They're getting Pilate people, instructors, people who are dynamic with more than one talent. I myself have people who are Instagram influencers, makeup, working in a consulting space, and it really leads to a lot of raised eyebrows. But I said that's the kind of talent I want. So, policy wise, we'll need to incorporate a lot more flexibility. Third bit would be you need, I think walking the talk has become so important, Pankaj. You are requesting people to be on time and you're yourself not on time. Like today, I really felt bad that I kept you waiting for those 5 minutes. So, feeling that pain of just because you're a leader, you will be entitled to few things which you're asking your team to follow. No, boss, they're watching you like Big Boss camera. So, walking the talk as a paradigm has become very important. And fourth would be to the HR community and to the CEOs community as such. The moment you start thinking of yourself as an expert, that's the beginning of an end, and that end will happen. Um, I see a lot of human resources people. They've not come my way. I don't work with them, but a lot of human resources people who are gloating on the fact that they have 3 decades of experience, which is great. But this 3 decades of experience, you will need to have a very realistic conversation to what degree is that experience relevant in the new paradigm, to what degree it's not. And they have that condescending approach towards talent, that we are giving you this opportunity, you are lucky to have us. You'll need to change this language. That the Leap Sir's language, that we are lucky to have you. Till the time it doesn't kind of proliferate from the CEOs and the HR community, the culture won't change. So
Hmm.
human resources will really need to sit at the cusp of having a very sound business understanding as well as being culture custodian and really building a bridge between people and businesses. Today, we have human resources who may get this feeling that their responsibility is only, let's say, the PMS part, the engagement, the festivals. Times have shifted, but I think we will really need to be a more proactive voice on the business and boardroom. Look at Alina Nair, no? From like being a part of human resources in HUL to a CEO of Dior. Look at the leap. So I think human resource and the businesses are also waking up to the fact that they need a human resources in a boardroom. So human resources people will need to raise their own equity in front of the business, I feel, and call themselves really a business partner in their own right instead of waiting for the call from the business. Okay, I need negotiation and selling skill workshop. You recommend, no, I don't think so. You need negotiation. What you need is more influencing skill. So being an equal for the business and making sure your voice is being conveyed in a way that business takes you seriously. That's a very important realm.
Wonderful. So last piece is still remaining for the facilitators and the trainers.
So, like I said, they need to read books for sure, Pankaj. And for facilitators, I think more than the source, no, more than waiting for a certification only, you need to be a constant learner yourself. So, I can't take them out there right behind. I have these dockets and dockets of Moleskine notebooks, which are inundated with my own reflections of meeting people. So, facilitators and trainers, if you are in the business of making people learn, you need to be good learners yourself. When I say reading TED Talk, writing it down, that's one. I think if you want to, from trainer, become a coach eventually, networking with such coaches. I'm a part of a lot of networking group of ICF trainers, Sumeda's Labs trainers. Interacting with fellow trainers is important, Pankaj. And the third bit would be networking. I see there is a implicit resistance in trainers and facilitators to engage proactively with business. They want to engage with HR. They often, scroll it down the carpet, stating, "No, but our customers are human resources." And I often tell them, no, your customers are CEOs, your customers are vertical heads. Because till the time the vertical head is not convinced on your capability, they're not going to take you. So when I say networking, Pankaj, I'm not only talking about networking of a forum and going there, meeting people, exchanging cards. I'm like, leverage LinkedIn proactively, reach out to CEOs, like how you're reaching out to so many people. You're in HR yourself in a healthcare sector. The networks that you'll be building today, the learnings that you'll be amassing today will give you such sound understanding of business and how people work that I'm sure that in 5 years from now, or you'll be much ahead of your other HR counterparts because you have invested that kind of time. So I think those things are very important for trainers and facilitators, and be a sponge for stories. There's a lot of research today around business storytelling and how it is stories that lead to higher recall, residue, and remembrance. And I see a lot of trainers having conceptual rigor, which is great. But where they then take a fall is they're not able to relate this concept to an instance, to an observation, to a story, to an anecdote. So merely that conceptual witness hota na, this is 4 by 4 grid, this stands for this, that's not important. You need to have stories. Until the time you don't write down your stories, you don't rehearse those stories, you're not going to be convincing in front of your audience. So be a collector for knowledge and stories and learn through books and people and doing those certifications, like I said. I would say there's a certain point in being a trainer and a facilitator where you dwell a lot on साइट्स लाइक माइंड टूल्स मैंने भी बहुत किया है बट आई थिंक 5 साल के बाद या आई थिंक आज के समय में तो 1 साल के बाद यू नीड टू मेक अ शिफ्ट फ्रॉम outer Google to your inner Google. Ask yourself those questions. What are the things that you can teach people through your experience, exposure, and expertise? I'm still not certified on a lot of facilitation certifications, but that doesn't deter my confidence because I know I'm very well read. So being well read and being a sponge for knowledge can really make up for a lot of other things you don't have. I see today trainers, if you ask them, what is it that you can really teach people through your experience, expertise, and exposure? Oh, we do planning and organizing, we do time efficiency, we do art of delegation. No, but what is it that you can really teach through your experience that becomes your forte? Not a lot of clarity. So we also at Naira Leadership Consulting, we do dealing with ambiguity, planning, organizing, efficiency, and effectiveness, so on and so forth. But what is your forte? That question today and that clarity today is missing in trainers. So I think that clarity is important, Pankaj. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ridhima, for sharing all the insights and the thoughts and your journey and experiences. I'm sure this will going to be, very, very helpful for all our audience, and eagerly looking for next conversation with you very soon.
Pankaj, but on a serious note, this has been, like I said, Fun and profound both at the same time. I think some of the questions you asked me really triggered me on my own journey, and it's been nothing but joyful interacting with you. I think कहते हैं ना समय से पहले और किस्मत से ज्यादा कभी किसी को नहीं मिलता तो आज ही हमारा समय था because we have been contemplating to do this discussion for the last 6 months, but I think the stars got aligned today and we made it happen. So thank you so much for your patience and considering me for this conversation. Really, really a lot of fun interacting with you, Pankaj.
Thank you so much, Dima. Okay, I'm just
stop recording.
Yeah, this will going to be very very helpful for all our audience, and eagerly looking for next conversation with you very soon.
So thank you so much for your patience and considering me for this conversation. Really, really a lot of fun interacting with you, Pankaj.
Thank you so much, Dima.